I found a hotel key in our laundry. Then I saw who was waiting upstairs. I was folding laundry when the city changed color. That's the only way I can describe it. One second I was stacking soft, warm t-shirts like a competent husband. The next I was staring at a plastic card as if it were a living thing. Black stripe, gold logo, Astoria Hotel. The kind of key that doesn't belong to people who spend Sunday nights ironing pillowcases. The card had written home in the pocket of my wife's dark jeans. Eliza is careful with pockets. She doesn't forget receipts, chapstick secrets. I held the key in my palm the way a beachcomber holds a shell that hums, half convinced it might be the ocean. Our apartment smelled like the rosemary chicken I'd bribed the oven into behaving for. The playlist was something soft and confident, late evening guitars. Eliza texted she was running a bit behind. Client dinner, big donor, just dessert. I wanted to slip the key back where I found it. I wanted to pretend the shell was just a shell. Instead, I rinsed it under the tap, as if lies could be washed clean, and set it by the fruit bowl like Exhibit A. She came in with the night on her shoulders and a smile that didn't belong to me. The museum's PR team has taught her to hold eye contact a heartbeat longer than ordinary. I felt the technique land and slide off. "You cooked," she said, and kissed me too quickly. "God, you're good." "I try." I gestured at the table. I didn't gesture at the hotel key. It was there anyway, small, rectangular gravity bending the room toward it. She told me about donors and installations and a critic who preferred conversation to art. Her laugh floated. The story had the lilting rhythm of telling the truth while skipping the part that matters. I poured wine and nodded at strategic places. When she stood to put her bag on the counter, she saw the key. "What's that?" "You tell me," I said. We both went still. In our 6 years, we'd weathered dry spells and dumb fights and one jaw-clenching argument about our bedroom window staying open in winter. We'd never faced a silent object that said so much without saying anything. Eliza picked it up by a corner. "This must be my boss." I picked up her coat when she got sick in the car. Maybe it slipped into my pocket. "Is that a thing keys do?" I asked. It came out softer than I felt. Her mouth curved, not a smile, more like a practice door. "Come on, Owen, you know me." "I do." I knew the scar on her shin from a clumsy college mope, the exact point on her back her muscles knotted when she typed too long, the way she folds a fitted sheet as if proving a theorem. But I didn't know who the key opened for. "Keep it," I said. "Give it back Monday." We ate the rosemary chicken. We said the right small things. In bed, she curled into me, warm and precise, and for a moment the city returned to regular color. Then her breath steadied and the key clicked down a corridor in my mind until it found a door I hadn't realized I'd closed. I didn't ask more the next day. I told myself I was noble for waiting, noble for not scrolling the Astoria Hotel hashtag like a teenager, noble for not pocketing Eliza's phone when she showered. Nobility kept my jaw tight and my imagination loud. On Tuesday, the universe offered me an accomplice with a camera and a smile. Her name was Sierra. She moved into 15B with a plant jungle and a laugh that didn't apologize for echo. I met her in the elevator, me with groceries, her with a tripod slung over her shoulder like a weapon from a more interesting world. "You look like a man who overthinks pasta sauce," she said, eyeing the basil, the tomatoes, my indecision about capers. "I'm a man who respects capers," I said. She grinned. "I'm Sierra. I shoot travel pieces and couples who pretend to like each other more than they do." "Owen," I said. "I write for an ad agency and couples who pretend to need new mattresses." We laughed. The elevator sighed to a stop at 6. She was still smiling when the doors closed between us. I caught a last glimpse of her, a stripe of shoulder, freckles like punctuation. For the first time since the key, air moved easily through my chest. Wednesday, I gave up nobility. I took an early train to Midtown. The Astoria's lobby was designed by someone who believes marble is a personality. I checked my reflection in one of many tasteful panes and decided disappointment looks the same in every finish. I didn't know what I expected. A spotlight, sirens. In a movie, this is where the husband develops improbable stealth and follows the wife to a room with an impossible view. In life, the only thing that followed me was my own heartbeat. I sat at the bar where businessmen pretend their ties are choices. The bartender gave me the smile you give a person who has either been left at an altar or just gotten very good news. What are we celebrating? Good judgment, I said, and he poured something amber that tasted like it could forgive me later. That's when I saw her in the mirror. Eliza crossed the lobby wearing the gray coat that makes strangers hold doors. She wasn't alone. The man with her had a face that screamed donor, a careful haircut, a watch designed to remind you of time. He touched her elbow like a man who understood small theater. They drifted toward the elevators. I told myself I was here for proof, not masochism. I gathered my things, which were suddenly heavy, and stood with the drink still warming my throat. The elevator chimed. They stepped in. The doors hesitated, one last chance at a better decision, and then slid closed. I didn't follow. I don't know if that was strength or fear. My legs moved anyway, taking me into the small lounge where the hotel's version of live music sounds like romance found a part-time job. I wanted to leave. I wanted to stay until reality invented a different ending. Never drink alone in a hotel bar, someone said, and the universe once again worked on schedule. It was Sierra, in a black blouse and a skirt that knew how to suggest and stop. She held a camera bag and a smile tilted like a question. "What are you doing here?" I sounded too happy for a man who might have just watched his marriage take an elevator. "Shooting an event upstairs," she said. "They make me wear a blazer to look serious and then ask me to be invisible." She slid onto the stool beside me. "You okay?" There's a particular honesty that only exists in dim rooms with live jazz. I told her the truth. Not the ring of it, not the exact note, just the chord. Found a key, came for closure, saw my wife with a man in a gray suit. Sierra listened without interrupting, hands wrapped around her glass. Her thumb moved along the rim in patient circles, and I realized I was watching her to avoid watching the elevators. "I'm sorry," she said. "I'm not going to defend her or crucify her, but I'm sorry." "You ever been here?" I asked and heard the cowardice in it. "In this hotel, constantly, in this exact confusion, once." She smiled, but it looked like it cost her. "Different city, same daycare." We didn't talk about Eliza again for a while. The band picked a song old enough to have learned patience. Sierra told me about chasing light in Iceland and missing planes in Morocco. I told her about copy lines that sounded clever at 11 p.m. and stupid in daylight. We slid, without noticing, into the intimacy of leaning closer to hear. At some point her knee brushed mine and didn't run away. "I should go," I said, even as my body angled toward her. "You should do what doesn't make you wake up hating yourself," she said, and the line landed like a hand on a railing. I thanked her for the drink I'd bought her. She laughed at that, soft and close. When we stood, she adjusted my collar, an innocent gesture that let her fingers stay a second longer than necessary at my throat. The sensation sketched a map inside me of all the places I'd stopped traveling. I didn't kiss her. I wanted to enough that not kissing her felt like a decision I'd write on an index card and keep in my wallet to show my future self. On the sidewalk, December had remembered its job. We walked to the corner together, steam rising from a grate like a magician's warm-up. At the light, Sierra squeezed my wrist, a brief, electric Morse code, and crossed. I watched until she disappeared into a practical yellow cab and the night fell quiet again. I didn't sleep. Eliza slipped into bed at some dark hour and lay still enough to pretend she'd been there all along. In the morning, she wore a sweater I loved like a shield. I made coffee strong enough to do damage and set one mug in front of her. When she lifted it, her wrist trembled, the tiniest tremor, like a confession that had lost its words. "Did you get the key back to your boss?" I asked finally. She didn't blink. I did. The lie was soft, almost compassionate, like a parent telling a child the dog has gone to a farm with better grass. I didn't argue. The argument was already a living thing in the room, breathing heavier by the second. For the first time in our marriage, I took a day off and didn't tell her. I found a therapist whose webpage didn't terrify me and booked the earliest appointment. I told a stranger what I hadn't told myself. I was beginning to vanish inside the person who was supposed to recognize me. At lunch, I texted Eliza, "Dinner at home. Let's actually talk." She replied with a thumbs up and a heart stickers used like aspirin. I got candles. I turned on the soft guitars. I didn't make rosemary chicken because I didn't want scent memory to work against me. When she came in, I met her at the door the way I used to, hands on her waist, the first kiss careful and then not. She kissed me back with a hunger that read like punctuation, not a period or a question mark, more the desperate dash you throw into a sentence to make it keep going. "I miss us," she said against my mouth. "Then find us," I said. My hands had already found her shoulders, the warm line of her spine under wool. The city narrowed to skin and breath. YouTube would forgive the way she leaned into me, the way my palm found the curve of her hip, the half button I undid and then stopped, leaving an open triangle of throat and collarbone and temptation. We pressed together like a secret we were both willing to keep for one more second. She pulled back first. "I'm scared," she said. "Me too." "Of losing you," she said, and I knew it wasn't only a line. It was also not the whole sentence. We ate in soft bursts, the conversation stepping forward and back. I didn't accuse. She didn't confess. We sat with the shape of what we knew and named smaller shapes around it: work pressure, fatigue, the slow erosion of attention that happens to people who live in the same calendar. It wasn't nothing. It wasn't enough. On Thursday night, I did one theatrical thing. I put the hotel key back in her coat pocket, slipped a small note behind it. "If we're still us, we don't need this. If we're not, leave it on the table when you go." Oh. It wasn't fair. Tests rarely are, but I needed something that wasn't rumor. In the morning, the key sat on the table when I came out for coffee. Eliza was in the kitchen in a robe, hair back, face clear of the makeup that makes strangers love her. She didn't look guilty. She looked tired in the way only honesty can tire you out. "I'm sorry," she said before I could speak. "I didn't sleep at the Astoria. I did go upstairs. I didn't do what you think I did. I did the kind of thing that makes what you think feel inevitable." I nodded. The difference matters later. It doesn't matter in that first moment when the life you had rearranges itself into a new floor plan that still needs furniture. "There's someone," she said, the way people confess they got a tattoo they're not sure they like. "He's been attentive. It felt like oxygen." And I felt like, what? An air purifier. She almost smiled. "You felt like home," she said. "That's not always a compliment to a woman who wants to feel like a door." We stood there, two nouns learning new verbs. Do you want to try? I asked. Really try, not with bullet points, with mess. She closed her eyes. When she opened them, they looked like they did on our honeymoon when the ocean surprised us by being cold and we laughed instead of complaining. I don't know yet, she said. That's the truest thing I have. Then let's take space, I said. The words scared me. They also strangely soothed. I spent a week at a short-term rental 2 blocks away, the kind of studio that proves you can fit a bed, a desk, and a future in 400 square feet if you stack carefully. I didn't tell people at work. I didn't tell my therapist everything. I didn't tell Sierra anything until she texted asking if I'd like to carry a softbox for her on a shoot because her assistant had a dentist emergency. I said yes because saying yes felt like oxygen to someone. We walked through a bookstore between locations, pretending we were picking gifts for imaginary people. She handed me a travel anthology and said, "Read the one about the night train." I handed her a book of essays and said, "Read the one about the man who decides to stay." Our hands brushed. It felt like getting the first message of a language you've wanted to learn. After the shoot, back on our floor, the elevator doors opened and she didn't step out. The car hesitated, a mechanical heartbeat. Sierra looked at me, then at the empty hallway, then back. "I won't be the reason something breaks," she said softly, "but I could be the reason something begins when it's time." I reached for her hand, only that, warm palm to warm palm like plugging in. "Thank you," I said, "for not letting me turn a bruise into a compass." She smiled. When she finally did step into the hall, she tugged me with her. We walked to our doors like kids leaving a good movie at the same time, reluctant to return to ordinary. Eliza and I are still building a different ordinary. Some nights the music comes back to our apartment, low and patient, and we dance in socks, the kind of slow that would never get demonetized. Some nights she falls asleep on the couch reading donor profiles, and I tuck a blanket over her legs, careful with the part of her shin the moped tried to keep. Some nights I go for a late walk under windows that flicker with other lives and wonder what story is being told behind each one. The hotel key is gone. I slid it into the mail slot at the Astoria's front desk with no note, no drama, just the quiet click of a page turning. What stays is the memory of dim light on polished marble, a brass elevator that knows everyone's secrets, and the shape of two people trying to decide whether to ride up or walk away. What also stays is the pressure of a photographer's hand in mine, brief, deliberate, enough to remind me I'm still visible. Maybe that's the scandal and the salvation. Love isn't a locked door. It's a room you keep choosing to enter again and again, with the knowledge there are hallways running everywhere. I'm learning to navigate by the sound of footsteps I recognize. The soft pad of my wife returning, the light step of a neighbor passing, and my own, steadier every week, walking toward whatever version of home we're brave enough to keep making.